Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you are. I hope you're all really well. Welcome back to the show where we're covering all the latest in AI news and we share our views. That was quite a nice little rhyme there. So if you like that one, give us a like, subscribe,
Have to remember that.
Say hello in the comments. My intro seems to vary every time. Well, that's a little bit of fun there. But in all seriousness, guys, we're an early, new channel, new show, bringing you all the latest news. We work in a space, and I would really appreciate your support. So it doesn't cost anything. Hit that like, give us a subscribe. If you don't like us later, then just get rid of us. That's fine. So we have got some news to bring to you today. We had a bit of a fun story yesterday, which you can check out on the YouTube on the previous shows, which made us giggle. But today, we've got a slightly different story, Will. What have you found for us to have a chat about?
It's something more serious, something more techie today. So if you enjoyed the funny stories, do let us know. I mean, yeah, I thought yesterday was hilarious. But today is slightly more serious. Today we're talking about how Apple are reportedly working on MCP support to enable agentic AI on the Mac, iPhone and iPad. And again, there's a very fitting heading here. What is MCP? So I'll quickly read what this says as well, just in case you watching don't understand what an MCP is, before we have a long 10-minute discussion about it. An MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, and it was developed by Anthropic as an industry standard way to interface between AI systems and data sources and traditional platforms. Think of it much like Zapier, if you're familiar with that, or an API, a way to get programs to actually read data sources and make use of traditional tools. And MCP is literally just like that, but it allows AI models to use it. And Apple are reportedly working on their own MCP support, allowing low-level access to kind of stuff on the the iOS, macOS, and iPadOS systems, which for me is really, really cool. And I think it really illustrates a future of how, when you see someone like Apple, obviously one of the largest tech players in the world, making this kind of move, I think it really solidifies my thinking on where and how we're going to be interacting with software. They obviously see a future where agents are doing, a lot more of the work, and how we're interacting with software is going to be fundamentally different. Instead of going through and clicking things, we'll be asking AI agents to go and carry out these tasks, and off it will go via different MCP routes to fetch that data source and then put it in an Apple Calendar via that MCP. And I think it's preparing for a much more automated future where we just instruct and orchestrate actions that are taken. It's a fascinating topic, and I really think it's the future.
So just to break this down and talk in like layman's terms for some of our audience, or even for myself, should I say, I guess it was quite helpful to sort of almost paint a picture. I'm quite a visual person. So would you say it's almost where, for example, a sales inquiry comes in, the sales inquiry is dealt with by an AI. The AI maybe not validates or just checks that this is a decent lead. Maybe it gets passed to one of the sales representatives. They go, just to make sure everything's okay. Yeah, fine, okay. Now, maybe it's all pre-programmed in terms of what it does. They just say, fine, that's fine. The AI then goes, okay, well, we're going to do this email. I'm going to use this tool to write this context. I'm going to schedule 4 emails to follow up over these weeks. I'm going to put it in a calendar for the actual sales assistant to sort of check to see if there's been any response, and maybe if not, then follow up with a phone call. If there is a response, I'm going to use this tool to create a sales brochure, all generated. The human doesn't have to be involved with this, creating this document, and it's just going to get sent out as an email or whatever it is. It's almost like that whole, whatever the sales process is. For example, I'm talking about sales. It just follows that structure, and I guess that could replicate across law, across healthcare. With booking appointments and following up appointments and getting notes, and I don't know. There's a million and one workflows you can imagine. So I guess that's the sort of picture we're painting here.
Yes, 100%. So what we've been doing for a while now is a process called unhobbling models, which the easiest way to think about that is you have quite possibly the smartest person in the room to do a job. For example, the world's smartest programmer. But he's only going to be as good, or they're only going to be as good as the tools that you give them. If you don't give them a computer, then they're not going to be able to be very effective at programming, are they? So this idea translates directly to models as well. So there's a process called unhobbling, and one of those things is giving AI models better tools to perform jobs. And these tools might be to access your file system, read a file, write a file. It might be to execute commands in the programming world. But this also now extends through something called MCPs, as we've just heard. This extends this tool set to be able to connect to traditional platform. So in your example, yes, you might prompt an AI agent, or it might just be automated in terms of an email inbox, inquiries come into it. The AI is watching that, and the email client has a way to push that information that a new email has come in to the AI, and it will prompt it to say, this new email has arrived. The AI can then use one of its MCP tools to send that lead onwards to a sales representative. It can also use another MCP to send the email into MailChimp or Salesforce or whichever CRM you use to track these leads and inquiries and emails. And this protocol is amazing because anyone can develop an MCP for their own services and then have it easily integrate with large language models. Yeah, and this is the world we're talking about. This is the world we're talking about, is that a lot of this stuff is automated. You just become the orchestrator, or you just set it up to run in the background, as your example just demonstrated, just watching an inbox and taking action as a result. And you don't have to be involved at all. I think it's a really fascinating way of working, and it's something that we're already doing in the programming world, because often as software engineers, the one building this technology, often it comes to us first, and we've been using agentic coding tools for quite a while now, and they're very powerful. Basically, you just become this grand orchestrator where you prompt. MCPs can be called. You can orchestrate all sorts of things, and all you're doing is typing prompts, reviewing outputs, and moving onwards. It's a completely different paradigm, and it's a fascinating one.
It's going to be. We did talk about this a few weeks ago, didn't we? But how AI is going to go, literally on device, and you're going to be able to just you won't need the internet. It will just be able to work locally, private, and all the rest of it. And that's something we're working on as well. Yeah, I guess how soon do you see Apple deploying this type of tech? Let me have a quick look to see if they. Let me see if they have a timeline on this. They probably don't publish a timeline on it, but if they're talking about it, it's usually not crazy far away. Yeah, it doesn't say, but this isn't a fringe technology anymore. This is being rolled out to quite a heavy degree. There's a website where you can actually look at all the MCP servers that exist for different companies, and there is now getting into the hundreds. I mean, it's being deployed and adopted quite rapidly so that AI agents can use it, because again, you don't need one running on your computer necessarily. Things like OpenAI's GPT-5 can use it and make use of MCP servers just as we can locally. So it's becoming quite widely adopted in the developer community to roll out. So I don't expect it's very far away for Apple to add this to its toolkit as well for developers to use. And do you see this just being implemented into their hardware, their MacBooks, their iPhones? I think it did say in the article, didn't it? How do you see the consumer, making use of this in their everyday sort of life? Well, okay, so what Apple are developing here are, a way for other developers. So they have a huge developer ecosystem building apps and everything like that, and they provide a huge set of tools for us to be able to work with their hardware. So this wouldn't be for Apple to make use of primarily for their own kind of thing. This would be for the likes of us. If we wanted to provide agentic uses of people's iPhones or Macs, then we can access the MCP toolkits there and allow people to interface. So what that means for the consumer,
For example, I would be talking to an AI, and I, again, like using your example here, is that it would get I have an email come in, my AI would read that email and then take action, and then it could use Apple's MCP to add it to Apple Calendar directly. That event or that email for a meeting, we could interface with that and send it to Apple Calendar. It'd be that kind of thing. That's how it would impact consumers.
So do you think, so talking from a selfish perspective, because we're talking about doing this with our app Ava Mind, where the users can interact with Ava in a much more a broader way. Not only could you talk or type to the AI and have a conversation, but you could say, can you put that can you give me a reminder? I've got this event coming up, and maybe they'll put in your calendar, and maybe it'll also sort of give you a notification to remind you. Because we've been talking about that for a while. Do we see as this helping us accelerate that path for us to develop that feature, or does it make no difference?
No, exactly that. So this is what this would enable us to do, is to interface our Ava Mind AI model. We'd be able to interface directly with Apple's services, Apple's hardware, and get agents to carry out those tasks. There are MCPs for things like Google Calendar, for example, and other things. We'd be making use of these model context protocols that the companies provide, so that we can better talk to their software solutions, their hardware solutions. So this only accelerates what we want to do.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, that's
amazing.
Absolutely unbelievable. So yeah, listen, I think that's gives us a little flavor of what the future holds. Let us know what you think, guys, in the comments. And does it mean your workflow is just sit back, relax, and let the AIs just sort everything out for you? What does that mean for work? Maybe, who knows? And maybe we'll all have MCPs and little AIs running around, and we can we'll be all out of jobs. But I think there still could be jobs and needs for people in some capacity. So that's a conversation for another day. But listen, if you like the show, give us a like. Again, like I said, subscribe. Really appreciate it. Let us know what you think in the comments, like I said. But for now, we'll catch you on the next one. Take care, guys.
Cheers, guys.